The evening sky hung heavy with an orange hue as Anna stepped out of the taxi and onto the cobblestone driveway of Sarah and Daniel's house. The subtle hum of laughter and clinking glasses filtered through the windows, a familiar sound that had once made her feel at home. Tonight, however, it felt foreign. There was a quiet tension in the air, something that Anna couldn't quite place but knew she'd be able to feel by the end of the evening. Thanks, she said to the driver, sliding out of the car and adjusting the hem of her dress. She caught a glimpse of Jack's reflection in the rearview mirror, his hand resting casually on the back of her seat. His eyes gazing out the window. There was something distant about him tonight, something she hadn't been able to ignore all day. "Ready?" she asked, trying to sound casual. Jack didn't answer right away, his gaze drifting toward the horse. His jaw clenched ever so slightly, and she could see the faint furrow between his brows. He wasn't ready, but that was nothing new. "Yeah," Jack replied quietly, his tone almost detached. He stepped out of the car, and the two of them walked up the path toward the front door, the gravel crunching under their shoes. Anna forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. The door swung open before they even had a chance to ring the bell. Sarah, always the gracious hostess, greeted them with a bright smile. Her blonde hair was styled in loose waves, her dress a simple yet elegant black number that seemed to highlight her effortless charm. "Anna, Jack, so glad you could make it. It's been ages. Thanks for having us," Anna said, offering her friend a hug. But as she embraced Sarah, she couldn't help but notice Jack's stiff posture beside her. He was already scanning the room, his eyes flitting to the corner where Daniel, his longtime best friend, was engaged in a conversation with a few other guests. "Jack," Sarah said, her voice warm but laced with a hint of amusement. "You look like you're about to run for the hills. Relax, will you?" Jack forced a grin, his shoulders loosening slightly, though his gaze remained distant, just trying to settle in. He muttered, his voice flat. Sarah didn't seem to catch the underlying tension. She ushered them inside, and soon they were mingling with the other guests. Anna tried to focus on the small talk, but she couldn't shake the feeling that Jack was pulling away from her more and more. Every time their hands brushed, it felt like an afterthought, like he was somewhere else in his mind. "Anna, Jack." Daniel's voice boomed across the room. He was leaning against the kitchen counter, a drink in hand, looking as laid back as always. His dark hair was disheveled in a way that made it clear he didn't have to try very hard to be effortlessly cool. "Hey, Daniel," Anna said with a smile. "This place looks amazing. You've done a great job with the renovations." Daniel waved it off. "It's nothing. Sarah's the real decorator." He winked at his wife, who laughed lightly, shaking her head. Jack's eyes scanned the room again, a distracted look on his face. His gaze lingered for a moment on a woman sitting on the far side of the room, laughing at something someone had said. Anna followed his line of sight, and for a split second, her heart skipped a beat. Olivia, Jack's ex-girlfriend. Anna had heard the name countless times over the years, but she had never met Olivia face to face. Olivia had been a part of Jack's life long before she ever came along. It was clear that Jack hadn't entirely let go of her, despite all the years they had been together. But Anna had never felt the weight of it like she did now, staring at Olivia across the room, as if something in the air had shifted and Anna had just become acutely aware of it for the first time. "Olivia looks great," Anna said casually, hoping her voice didn't sound too strained. She was surprised to find that it didn't. She wasn't even sure if she believed the words that were coming out of her mouth. Jack stiffened slightly. "Yeah, she does," he said, his voice flat. "She always did." There was an odd pause before Anna spoke again, trying to keep her tone light. "I didn't know she'd be here." Jack shrugged, his fingers nervously tapping against his glass. "She's friends with Sarah and Daniel. I think she's in town for a bit." No big deal, but Anna could tell it was a big deal for Jack, even if he didn't want to admit it. Olivia's presence, her effortless beauty and ease, seemed to bring something out of him, something Anna hadn't seen in a long time. She watched as Jack shifted uncomfortably, his eyes flicking back to Olivia. There was a quiet intensity to the way he looked at her, something that made Anna's stomach twist. "Why don't you go say hi?" Anna asked, her voice betraying the light edge she was trying to hide. "I'm sure she'd love to catch up with you." Jack blinked, as though momentarily caught off guard by the suggestion. He cleared his throat and set his drink down. "I think I'll wait." Anna couldn't stop herself from letting out a small sigh. "Jack, you've known her forever. It's fine." But Jack had already turned away, excusing himself with a mumbled excuse, and Anna was left standing alone, her heart beating painfully in her chest. She felt a sudden wave of loneliness crash over her, as though the distance between her and Jack had grown impossibly vast in the span of just a few moments. The evening wore on, and Anna couldn't escape the feeling that something had changed. Jack was distant, lost in conversation with Daniel and a few other friends, while Olivia seemed to float effortlessly around the room, her laughter ringing out every few minutes like a reminder that she still had a hold on Jack's past. As the night wore on, Anna found herself standing alone by the window, staring out into the darkening night. The sound of glassware and idle chatter surrounded her, but her mind was elsewhere. It wasn't just Olivia. It was the unspoken tension between her and Jack that seemed to have amplified tonight, like a crack in the foundation of their marriage that had finally begun to show. When Jack returned to her side, he looked at her with a soft smile, as though nothing was wrong, but Anna could see the flicker of something in his eyes, something that didn't belong to her. "Everything okay?" Jack asked, his voice gentle, but Anna could hear the hesitation in it. She nodded, but her smile was small, tight. "Yeah, just thinking." It was only later, when they were in the car heading home, that Jack finally spoke again. "You okay?" he asked, glancing over at her as he drove. His voice was softer now, more guarded, like he was waiting for her to make the first move. "I'm fine," Anna replied, though the words felt like a lie. I don't know. I guess I'm just tired." Jack didn't push her further. The silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating, and for the first time in years, Anna felt the weight of Jack's past looming over them unspoken, unresolved, and she couldn't help but wonder if she was still a part of his future at all. The morning after the party, Anna found herself lying awake in bed long after Jack had left for work. The stillness of the apartment felt suffocating, the air thick with unanswered questions. She hadn't slept much, her mind replaying the events of last night over and over. Olivia's presence had unsettled her in a way she hadn't anticipated. But it wasn't just Olivia. There was something about Jack's behavior that gnawed at her. The quiet hum of her phone on the bedside table broke her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. She rolled over and glanced at the screen. A message from Sarah flashed on the display, but it wasn't that which drew her attention. It was the notification on her Instagram app. "Jack tagged you in a post." Her pulse quickened. Without thinking, Anne opened the notification, and her stomach dropped. The post was a picture of Jack and Olivia at the party, her arms draped casually around Jack's neck as they both smiled for the camera. The caption read, "Some things never change. Old friends, new memories." Anna's breath caught in her throat, and she scrolled down through the comments. Most of them were from mutual friends, joking about the good old days. But then there was one comment from Jack's old college roommate. "Tom, good to see you two back together. Buddy, remember those days?" The words felt like a punch to the gut. Anna felt a sudden hate rush to her face as she stared at the screen, her hand gripping the phone tighter as she replayed the words in her mind. Old friends, new memories. Was this just a harmless caption? Or was it something deeper? Was Jack's nostalgia for Olivia more than just a passing feeling? She quickly swiped out of the Instagram, but the doubt lingered. The thought of confronting Jack right now seemed too overwhelming. Instead, she tried to push the feeling aside and focus on the day ahead. She had a meeting with a client and then a coffee date with her friend Rachel, but the unease in her chest wouldn't go away. The image of Jack and Olivia, their smiles and their shared history, kept flashing before her eyes. Later that afternoon, after her meeting, Anna found herself sitting in her car in front of a small cafe, her fingers tapping nervously against the steering wheel. She glanced at her phone again, the desire to check Jack's social media accounts gnawing at her. She told herself she wouldn't do it, that it wasn't healthy to dive deeper into this, but she couldn't stop herself. Taking a deep breath, she opened Instagram once more, her eyes scanning Jack's feed. She saw the picture of him with Olivia again, and this time, she felt a surge of anger rise within her chest. There was something so casual about it, like it was no big deal, like it was just another day. As she scrolled further down, she found another post this time. It was a throwback photo from one of their trips together, a picture of Jack and Olivia on a beach, their hands intertwined. The caption read, "If only time could stand still," and felt her heart stop. Her fingers trembled as she held the phone in her hand, staring at the words. That wasn't just a passing memory. That was something real, something deeper. Jack wasn't just reminiscing about the past, he was holding on to it, and it hurt. The notification sound broke through her thoughts. Sarah had messaged her again, this time with a simple, "Hey, how are you doing today?" Anna hesitated, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. She wanted to tell Sarah everything, how she felt betrayed, how her whole world seemed to be falling apart, but instead, she typed out a simple response, "I'm good, just busy with work. How about you?" The seconds felt like hours as she waited for Sarah's reply, but it came quickly. "Glad to hear. I hope we can catch up soon. Also, Jack seems different lately, don't you think?" Anna stared at the message, a chill running down her spine. She wasn't sure if Sarah was just being observant or if she had picked up on something more, but the feeling of being watched, of being understood, was unsettling. Anna couldn't let it go. Her fingers itched to reach for her phone again, to dive deeper into the questions that had begun to plague her, and so she did. She clicked on Jack's profile and started scrolling through his recent posts, each one revealing more and more of a side of Jack that she hadn't seen in a long time. His carefree demeanor in the photos, his closeness with Olivia, it was like watching a version of him she didn't recognize, a version that seemed happier, more carefree, without her. When Jack came home that evening, the atmosphere between them was charged with unspoken tension. Anna had already set the table for dinner, but the meal felt more like an obligation than a moment of connection. Jack entered the apartment, his briefcase in hand, looking exhausted. But as soon as he saw Anna, something shifted. His eyes lingered on her face for a moment, as if searching for something. "Hey," he said, his voice softer than usual. "How was your day?" Anna gave him a tight smile, her heart racing in her chest. "It was fine," she replied, her voice betraying none of the turmoil swirling inside her. "Busy, you know." Jack nodded absently and set his briefcase down. He took a step toward her, as though he wanted to say something more, but the words didn't come. Instead, he glanced at the dinner she had prepared, his expression unreadable. "Looks great," he muttered, though the compliment felt hollow. Anna felt the urge to speak up, to confront him, but something held her back. She didn't want to sound paranoid. She didn't want to be the wife who accused her husband of things without proof. But those damn posts kept playing in her mind. "Jack," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I saw your Instagram posts today, with Olivia." Jack froze, his hand still hovering over the plate. He looked at her, his expression instantly guarded, like a wall had been built between them. "What about them?" His tone was terrible, but Anna could hear the tension beneath his words. Anna felt a pang of hurt, a deep ache in her chest. She took a deep breath, trying to keep her emotions in check. "You don't think it's a little strange posting pictures of you two together after everything?" Jack's face remained neutral, but she could see the flicker of something in his eyes, something unreadable, maybe even regret. "It's just social media, Anna. It's not a big deal." Anna's throat tightened. "Is it not? Because it feels like more than that. It feels like you're holding on to something I can't give you." Jack opened his mouth to respond, but Anna cut him off, her voice writhing. "You can't just pretend everything's fine, Jack. You can't just post pictures with her and act like it doesn't mean anything." Jack's jaw clenched, and for a moment, they stood there in silence, the weight of their words hanging between them. Anna's heart was pounding in her chest as she waited for him to speak, but he didn't. He just looked at her, as if trying to figure out how to explain himself or if it was even worth it. Finally, Jack sighed, his shoulders slumping slightly. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Anna. It's complicated." Anna nodded, her eyes brimming with shed tears. "I can't keep doing this, Jack. I can't keep pretending like everything's fine when I know it's not." For the first time in a long time, Jack didn't respond with his usual calm. Instead, he turned away, the distance between them growing even wider, and Anna, for the first time, truly understood that things had already changed. The cracks were no longer invisible, they were real, and they were only growing wider. The next few days were filled with a strange tension that neither Anna nor Jack could ignore. They shared the same space but felt miles apart, both physically and emotionally. Jack had apologized after their argument about the Instagram posts, but his words felt like they barely touched the surface of the issues simmering between them. Anna spent most of her days at work, trying to bury herself in the routine, but the creeping doubt was always there, just beneath the surface. Even at her desk, she found herself scrolling through Jack's Instagram feed again and again, looking for clues in the subtle way he spoke about his past with Olivia. Every time he mentioned old friends or good memories, Anna felt a pain in her chest. Was it just nostalgia, or was there more to it? One evening, after a long day of work, Anna returned to their apartment to find Jack sitting on the couch, flipping through the TV channels absently. The dim light from the lamp cast a soft glow over his face, but the exhaustion in his eyes was unmistakable. "Hey," Anna said, her voice softer than usual as she walked into the living room, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She set her purse down on the coffee table and took a deep breath. "How was your day?" Jack didn't immediately respond. He flicked off the TV and leaned back into the couch, his gaze drifting toward the window, where the city lights flickered faintly in the distance. After a long silence, he spoke. "It was fine," he said, his voice low, detached, just the usual, work, meetings, and could hear the flatness in his tone, the absence of the warmth that had once made their conversations so easy. She stood there for a moment, unsure of what to say. The distance between them had become so palpable, like a wall she couldn't seem to break through. "You've been distant lately," Anna finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. She crossed her arms over her chest, trying to hold onto whatever composure she had left. "Is there something going on, Jack?" Jack's eyes met hers for a brief moment, but the look in them was unreadable. He sat up straighter, rubbing the back of his neck, a gesture that Anna had come to associate with his discomfort. "It's nothing," he said quickly. Too quickly. "Just tired, I guess." Anna's heart sank. She had heard that excuse too many times before. Tired. She had come to realize that tiredness wasn't always just physical. Sometimes, it was emotional exhaustion, something deeper than just a long workday. "You've been tired for weeks now," she replied, her voice tinged with frustration. "Jack, something's wrong, and I can feel it." There was a brief pause as Jack stared at her, his face hardening. Then, with a sigh, he dropped his gaze to the floor, as if ashamed of something. Anna's stomach twisted at the sight. "I don't know how to explain it," Anna, Jack said quietly, almost to himself. There's a lot going on in my head right now, with work, with other things. Anna's pulse quickened. Other things. What does that mean, Jack? For the first time in days, Jack's expression flickered with emotion, frustration, maybe guilt. I don't know if I can keep doing this, keeping everything together, pretending that nothing's changed. The words hit her like a physical blow, and felt the room start to spin. Her heart racing as she processed what he had just said. She wanted to say something, anything to stop this from spiraling out of control, but the words stuck in her throat. Jack looked up at her again, this time with a hint of vulnerability in his eyes. I didn't want to hurt you, Anna. I swear, but I think I've been holding on to things from the past that I shouldn't have, and maybe it's time to face it. Anna took a step back, her mind reeling. Face what, Jack? What are you talking about? I've been holding on to Olivia, Jack said, his voice barely above a whisper. Not just the memories, but, I don't know, something about her, something about that time in my life. I didn't realize how much I was still carrying until I saw her again the other night, and I know it's stupid, but it's like a part of me never let go. Anna's breath caught in her throat. The world around her seemed to blur, her thoughts scattering like leaves in the wind. She had suspected it, but hearing him say it out loud was a different kind of pain. She thought she had known Jack better than anyone, but now, it felt like she was learning something entirely new about him, something she wasn't sure she could bear. So, what are you saying? Anna's voice was barely audible, but there was a sharp edge to it. You're telling me that you've been carrying a torch for Olivia all this time, and now that she's back in the picture, it's affecting us. Jack's jaw clenched, and he turned away, running a hand through his hair. I didn't want it to happen. I didn't want it to affect us. But it's there, Anna, and I can't ignore it anymore. Anna's chest tightened as the weight of his words pressed down on her. She had always known about Olivia, of course, but this was something she had never anticipated. The idea that Jack's feelings for her had never really faded, that the love they had shared, the life they had been built on a foundation of fragile, half-formed promises, and felt herself slipping, drowning in a sea of uncertainty. I can't do this, Jack, she whispered, her voice trembling. I can't keep pretending that everything is fine when it's not. If you're still holding on to her, if you still have feelings for her, then I don't know what we are anymore. Jack's eyes widened, a look of panic flashing across his face. Anna, wait, I didn't mean. But she held up a hand, silencing him. No, Jack, you need to figure out what you want. I can't keep fighting for something that's already broken. The silence in the room was suffocating. Anna's heart was pounding, her breath coming in shallow gasps as she stared at Jack. His face was twisted with confusion and regret, but Anna couldn't bring herself to care. She had spent so many years supporting him, loving him unconditionally, but now, it felt like the tables had turned. She was tired of waiting for him to choose her. Anna turned and walked toward the door, not looking back. Her footsteps echoed in the folly as she grabbed her coat from the closet. She needed to get out of there. She needed space. She needed to breathe. Anna, Jack's voice called after her, desperate. Where are you going? I don't know yet, she replied, her voice breaking as she reached for the doorknob. But I'm not staying here, not like this. The door closed behind her with a finality that echoed through the apartment, leaving Jack standing alone in the dim light, unsure of what would happen next. Anna's footsteps echoed through the empty streets as she walked aimlessly, her coat wrapped tightly around her body, the chill of the night seeping through her skin. Her mind was a chaotic swirl of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. She didn't know where she was going, or if it even mattered anymore. She just needed space. Space from Jack. Space from the life they had built together, which now felt like a fragile house of cards, ready to collapse. The city around her was alive, vibrant, yet it felt like a distant world, separate from her own. The streetlights cast long shadows on the sidewalk, and the hum of traffic seemed muted, as if everything was happening in slow motion. She walked for what felt like hours, her mind replaying the conversation with Jack over and over again. His words were still fresh in her ears. I've been holding on to Olivia. She couldn't escape the image of him looking at her with those conflicted eyes, as if he were torn between her and the ghost of a past love. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, jolting her out of her thoughts. She pulled it out, hoping it was a message from a friend, someone to distract her from the overwhelming pain. But it was Jack. The screen showed his name, a single message blinking at her in bold letters. Can we talk? Anna stared at the message for a long time, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. She didn't know what to say. What could she say? She was furious. She was hurt. She was exhausted. Her mind flickered back to the early days of their relationship, when everything had felt so simple, when Jack had made her feel like she was the only person in the world that mattered to him. She had given him everything: her love, her trust, her heart, and now, it felt like it had all been taken for granted. She typed back, I need some time, Jack. I can't do this right now. The phone vibrated almost immediately with his reply, please, just let me explain. Anna bit her lip, fighting the urge to throw her phone into the nearest trash can. She didn't want explanations anymore. She wanted answers. She wanted the truth. But the truth seemed to be shifting like sand beneath her feet. She shoved the phone back into her pocket and kept walking, her pace quickening as the night deepened. Hours later, she found herself standing at a small cafe, one she used to visit with friends on lazy afternoons. The cozy ambience, with its warm lighting and the faint hum of soft jazz playing in the background, should have been comforting. But now, it only felt like a reminder of everything that had changed. Anna sat at a corner booth, nursing a cup of coffee that had long since gone cold. Her thoughts were still with Jack. Despite her efforts to shut them out, she couldn't escape him, even in a place like this. As she stared out the window, watching the world go by, her phone buzzed again. It was a call this time, and she knew without looking that it was Jack. She hesitated, but finally, she answered. Anna. Jack's voice crackled through the line, his tone softer than she remembered. Please, I need to talk to you. I'm sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you. She let out a slow breath, leaning her forehead against the cool glass of the window. Jack, I can't keep doing this. You say you're sorry, but your actions speak louder than your words. There was a long pause on the other end, and when Jack spoke again, his voice was filled with a rawness that tugged at her heart. I know I messed up. I should never have let Olivia back in. I should have been honest with you from the beginning, but I didn't know how to deal with all these feelings. I've been running away from them for too long. Anna's grip tightened on the edge of her coffee cup. And what do you expect me to do with that? Jack, you've been carrying these feelings for how long? You've been hiding them from me, from us. Jack sighed deeply. I wasn't hiding it. I didn't know how to let go. I didn't want to admit that I still had feelings for her. And I thought if I kept pretending everything was fine, it would get better. But it didn't. And now, I don't know where that leaves us. Anna's eyes burned with unshed tears. She was furious. But there was something else to something that she didn't want to face. Despite everything, despite how deeply hurt she felt, she still cared for him. She still wanted to believe that they could fix this. I don't know if we can fix this, Jack, she said, her voice trembling. I don't know if I can trust you again. I understand, Jack said, his voice breaking. But I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I want a chance to prove that I can be the man you deserve. I don't want to lose you. Anna. The words hum in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Anna closed her eyes, trying to steady her breathing. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that he could change, that they could move past this. But there was a gnawing doubt in her heart that wouldn't go away. I need more time, Jack, she whispered, the words feeling like a dagger in her chest. I need time to think. Time to figure out if I can even look at you the same way again. I'll wait, Jack said, the sincerity in his voice palpable. I'll wait for however long it takes. The call ended with a final, heart-wrenching silence. Anna sat in the booth, staring at her reflection in the window. She didn't know what to do. Her heart was torn between the man she had once loved and the man who had betrayed her. She knew that whatever decision she made next, it would change everything. She glanced down at her phone and saw that Jack had left one final message. I'm here whenever you're ready. Anna wiped away a tear that had slipped down her cheek, the weight of the decision pressing down on her like 1,000 pounds. She had been ready to walk away, to end it all. But now, after hearing Jack's voice crack with emotion, the uncertainty clouded her judgment. Maybe she wasn't as ready as she thought. The cafe was still busy around her, but Anna felt more alone than ever. She wasn't sure if she could forgive Jack, but she wasn't sure if she could walk away either. Anna's apartment was quiet, too quiet. The silence felt suffocating, as if the walls were closing in on her. She had barely slept the night before, her mind a constant replay of the conversation she'd had with Jack. The words he'd said echoed in her head, and I don't want to lose you. And yet, she knew that he had already lost her. At least, that's how it felt in that moment. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting soft shadows across the room. Anna sat at the kitchen table, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly, the steam rising in delicate tendrils. She could barely taste it. Her mind was too consumed with thoughts of Jack, of the wreckage their relationship had become. A knock at the door broke the stillness. Anna's heart skipped a beat. She didn't have to guess who it was. She hadn't heard from Jack since their phone conversation the night before, but she knew this moment was inevitable. He had said he would wait, but what was he waiting for? Her forgiveness, her permission to fix what he had broken. She stood up, her legs shaky as she walked to the door. When she opened it, there he was, Jack. His face was drawn, his eyes tired and filled with regret. His hand was tucked into the pocket of his jacket, his shoulders slumped as though carrying the weight of the world. Anna, he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. Can we talk? Anna's heart clenched, but she stepped aside, wordlessly inviting him in. She closed the door behind him, her back to him as she moved toward the kitchen. Jack followed, his footsteps hesitant. I didn't want to just text you, Jack said, breaking the silence. I needed to see you. I needed to explain, face to face. Anna didn't turn around. She couldn't. If she did, she was afraid she might fall apart. I don't know if there's anything left to explain, Jack, she said quietly, her voice trembling despite her best efforts to sound strong. I don't know if I can keep hearing apologies that sound empty. Jack's face twisted in pain, and for a moment, Anna felt a flicker of the love she had once held for him. It was fleeting, but it was enough to make her hesitate. I hurt you, Jack said, his voice barely above a whisper. And I don't expect you to forgive me. Not right away. I need you to know that I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want a chance to make things right, to prove that I can change. Anna took a deep breath and turned to face him. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, her cheeks pale. But there was a fire in her gaze now, one that hadn't been there before. You can't change the past, Jack, she sighed, her voice growing stronger with each word. You can't undo the things you've done, and you can't expect me to just forget them because you say you're sorry. Jack's expression faltered, but he didn't look away. I don't expect you to forget, but I need you to know that this thing with Olivia, it wasn't what you think. It wasn't about her being better than you are. Then what was it about? Anna cut him off, her frustration bubbling to the surface. What was it about, Jack? You've been keeping this from me for so long, and now you want me to just accept it. You want me to believe that it's not what it seems, that you still love me. But I'm just supposed to ignore that you've been holding on to her for God knows how long. Jack took a step forward, his voice pleading. I never wanted to hurt you, Anna. I didn't want to hurt anyone, but I've been lying to myself for so long. I thought if I just kept it buried, if I just kept pushing it down, that it would go away. But it didn't, and I should have told you. I should have been honest from the beginning. Honest. Anna's laugh was bitter, cold. Honesty. You were never honest with me, Jack. You've been lying to me, to yourself, and now you want to fix it with a few words. She stepped away from him, her heart pounding in her chest. The pain was overwhelming, a weight she could no longer carry. She needed to leave. She needed to get away from him, from this suffocating mess. But Jack's voice stopped her. I love you, Anna, Jack said, the words breaking between them like a fragile thread. I love you, and I know I've made a mistake. I know I can't undo what I've done, but I can try. I can try to make it right. Please, just give me a chance. Anna's breath hitched as she turned to face him, her eyes filled with unshed tears. I don't know if I can, Jack. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. Jack stepped closer, his hands reaching for hers, his touch gentle but insistent. Please, he whispered. I'll do whatever it takes. I just need you to believe in me again. I need you to believe in us. Anna pulled her hands back, shaking her head. I don't know if I can, Jack. I don't know if I can believe in something that's been broken for so long. The words hung in the air between them, heavy and full of meaning. Jack's face crumpled with sorrow, and for a moment, Anna saw the man she had once loved, the man who had promised her forever. But the reality of the situation hit her like a wave, crashing over her with a force she couldn't ignore. I'm so sorry, Jack said, his voice thick with emotion. Please, Anna. I never meant for this to happen. I never meant to hurt you. The tears that Anna had been holding back finally spilled over, but she didn't wipe them away. She couldn't. They were the tears of someone who had been betrayed by the one person they trusted the most. She had loved him so fiercely, so completely, but now that love felt like it had been erased, as if it never truly existed. I can't keep doing this, Anna whispered. I can't keep pretending like everything is fine when it's not. I need space, Jack. I need time to figure out if I even want this anymore. Jack looked at her, his face stricken with pain, but he didn't argue. He didn't try to convince her otherwise. He knew, deep down, that he had pushed her too far. I'll give you all the time you need, Jack said softly, his voice breaking. I'll wait for you, but I'm not giving up on us. Not yet, Anna nodded, the tears flowing freely now. She didn't know what the future held, or if there was any way to repair the damage that had been done. But one thing was clear, their relationship had been shattered, and she didn't know if either of them could fix it. As Jack turned to leave, Anna's heart ached. She wanted to call out to him, to tell him that she still loved him, that she wasn't sure she could live without him. But she stayed silent, watching him walk out of her life, at least for now, and for the first time in a long time. Anna didn't know what was next. The rain fell heavily against the windows, the rhythmic sound creating an almost hypnotic background to the chaos unfolding inside Anna's apartment. She sat on the couch, a mug of half-drunk tea cooling in her hands, her gaze fixed on the glass. The storm outside mirrored the storm within her. Her thoughts were a whirlwind, tumbling over the events of the past few weeks, and she couldn't make sense of any of it. Jack's words kept echoing in her mind. I'll wait for you, but I'm not giving up on us. Was that what she wanted? Did she still want them? She closed her eyes, squeezing the mug a little tighter. The memories of their love, their intimacy, and the promises they'd made seem so distant now, like a dream she could no longer hold onto. And then, of course, there was Olivia. The specter of his past relationship with her lingered in the background, haunting her every step. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, interrupting her thoughts. She picked it up, her heart skipping a beat when she saw the message. It was from Jack. I need to see you. We need to talk. Anna stared at the screen for a long moment. She had been avoiding his calls for days, but the weight of his message was impossible to ignore. She had been putting this off, hoping that time would provide some clarity, but it seemed there was no escaping the confrontation that was inevitable. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Anna's breath caught in her throat. She knew who it was. She hadn't even needed to glance at her phone to know that Jack was standing on the other side of that door, waiting. With a resigned sigh, she stood up and walked toward it. Her heart thudded in her chest, but she wasn't sure if it was from fear or anticipation. She opened the door, and there he was, standing in the rain, his clothes soaked through. His eyes were filled with emotion, anxiety, desperation, and something else she couldn't quite place. "Anna," Jack said softly, his voice strained. "Can we talk?" Anna took a deep breath and stepped aside to let him in. The warmth of her apartment contrasted sharply with the chill of the storm outside, but it did nothing to ease the coldness in her heart. Jack took a hesitant step inside, glancing around the room as if unsure of how to start. Anna shut the door quietly behind him, then turned to face him. "I've been thinking a lot," Anna began, her voice quiet but steady. "About everything, about us." Jack's face tightened, his hands shoved deep into his pockets as he watched her carefully, and his voice held a note of uncertainty, like he wasn't sure whether to hope for the best or prepare for the worst. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Jack," Anna said, her voice breaking slightly. She swallowed hard, trying to steady herself. "I don't know if I even want to try anymore." Jack flinched, though he quickly masked it, stepping toward her. "Please, Anna." He paused, collecting his thoughts. "I know I hurt you. I can't take that back. But I need you to understand something. I never stopped loving you. I didn't want any of this to happen." Anna closed her eyes, the sting of his words cutting deeper than she expected. "You didn't want this, Jack. You chose this. You chose to lie to me. You chose to keep your feelings for Olivia hidden from me. And now you want me to believe you when you say you never stopped loving me." Jack's face tightened, his gaze locking onto hers with a mixture of sorrow and frustration. "I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I just stayed quiet, it would go away. But it didn't. I tried to make it work with you. I thought I could move on. But I was lying to myself. I've been lying to both of us." "Lying," Anna repeated bitterly, her voice low and venomous. "You were lying to yourself, yes, but you were also lying to me, Jack. To us." The air between them was thick with tension, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The weight of their words hung in the room, each one cutting deeper than the last. "I don't know what you want from me anymore," Anna said finally, her voice trembling. "You say you love me, but how can I believe you? How can I trust you when everything we've built feels like a lie?" Jack stepped closer, his voice pleading now. "Anna, please. I know I'll hurt you, but I'm asking you, begging you to give me a chance to make this right. I don't want to lose you." Anna closed her eyes, her heart torn between the love she still felt for him and the anger, the betrayal that had built up over the past few weeks. She shook her head slowly, tears welling up in her eyes. "I can't do this anymore, Jack. I can't keep living in the shadow of your lies. I don't know who you are anymore, and I don't know if I can even recognize the man I married." Her words hit him like a punch, and Jack staggered back, as if her rejection had physically struck him. His face contorted with a mixture of guilt and confusion. "What do you want me to do?" he asked, his voice rough. "How can I make this right? Tell me what I need to do, and I'll do it. Just don't walk away from me." Anna's heart was breaking in a way she hadn't thought possible. She loved him. She truly did. But love wasn't enough anymore, not when it felt like everything they had was built on a foundation of lies. She took a step back, her hand tightening around the mug she had abandoned on the counter. "I don't know if I can stay in this," Anna whispered. "I don't know if I can keep pretending that everything is okay when it's not. I need time. I need space." Jack's expression shifted, the desperation in his eyes giving way to a quiet resignation. He stood there for a long moment, as if weighing his options, before he finally nodded. "I'll give you space," he said quietly, his voice barely audible. "But I'm not giving up on you, Anna. Not yet." Anna watched him as he turned to leave, her heart shattering with every step he took toward the door. She wanted to call out to him, to stop him from leaving, but she couldn't. This wasn't something they could fix so easily, and as much as it hurt, as much as she still loved him, she knew deep down that some things couldn't be repaired. The door clicked shut behind him, and Anna was left standing in the silence of her apartment, feeling more alone than she ever had before. The storm outside reached on, but inside, she was numb. She had asked for space, but what she really needed was a way to heal from the pain he had caused. She wasn't sure how to move forward, but she knew one thing for certain: their love was broken, and there was no going back.